Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the MoBetta Sports Show. I am your host, Antonio, aka Mr.MoBetta. And today, man, we are talking about the Texas Longhorns as your Big 12 champions. Let's get it, man. The first time since 2009. It feels incredible, man. It feels like if you've been a Longhorn fan for the last 15 years, you've known nothing but heartache and heartbreak and could have beens and should have beens and on the roster, but on the field is not what the roster says, and it's been terrible. Nothing less than terrible. And yesterday, the Texas Longhorns went out and made a complete mockery of the Oklahoma State Cowboys in the Big 12 championship game. It was an incredible game. Before we get into individual stats and individual player stats and all that kind of stuff, I just want to talk about just this team in general. This has been one of the most fun Texas Longhorns teams to watch in recent memory, not only because of how good they have been, and not only because they are sitting at 12-1 and Big 12 champions, but it's just the way that it's been done all season long. They have faced adversity time in and time out, game after game, whether it be losing key players, such as Jatavion Sanders. He goes down or he's wobbly in the Oklahoma game that unfortunately we lose. The only loss, the only blemish on the record. We lose Jonathan Brooks to an ACL injury for the entire season. We lose our star quarterback, the one that makes it all go, in Quinn Ewers for 2 games during this final stretch where we needed to be perfect if we wanted to not only get to the Big 12 championship, but also have a shot at the college football playoff. They overcame that. They overcame having Ryan Watts injured, Jalen Catalon injured. Time and time again, injury after injury. This team, no matter what has happened, has found a way each and every week to do what it takes to win football games. And alas, here we are, hoisting the final Big 12 trophy that Texas will ever play for. It has been an incredible journey. And to see it finish, to see this season finish the way that it did, it just, like, you can't help but just be like, I'm blown away. I'm honestly blown away. That's all I can say. This team looked, for the final 2 weeks of this season, has looked as complete a football team as any football team in the country, and I've been saying it. Go look back. Check all the videos. I keep saying it. Every week this team has improved. And every week, the areas where we find them to be the weakest in, they continue to improve. It's like the adage, the 1% better every single day, and you are 300% better, 360% better at the end of the year, right? They really seem to have kind of embodied that. Every single week, we have seen them get incrementally better at everything, whether it be special teams, Bert Auburn kicking field goals. Even though he missed the only one that he was, the only one he got a chance for yesterday, he did miss, breaking a 19 field goal straight made streak. Also, that's a record in itself, right? They got better in the special teams. They got better in the kick return game. They got better as safeties. They got better in coverage. They got better every single week at everything. Run blocking, pass blocking, quarterback play, efficiency. Just, you name it, statistically and categorically, they have improved everywhere, minus the red zone. That's the only place that we're still having a little bit of problems. But even then, we had, I think we had 3 of 5 red zone conversions, something like that, in the game yesterday. Every week this team has gotten better, and there's no doubt in my mind that this team is one of the, not only one of the 4 best teams, but arguably can beat any team in the country. Any team. You can argue they wouldn't beat Georgia. Well, guess what? Bama beat Georgia and we beat Bama. I don't give a fuck at what point of the season it was. Doesn't matter. Don't matter. Beat them handily. at home, period, right? Like I said, I thought going into the Big 12 championship game, while everybody wanted Texas to be able to avenge the loss to Oklahoma, of course I wanted that as well because I wanted to be able to stamp that revenge game so that there's no doubt, like, yeah, you got us the first time, you clipped us the first time, but the second time we came out and dominated the shit out of you, right? We didn't get that opportunity, and when I saw that it was Oklahoma State, I knew. I literally said, it's as good as written. Texas is going to win this game. And I know because I see the product that Oklahoma State puts on the field. And quite frankly, I was baffled that they were even 9-3 at this point in the season. The amount of things that they needed to go right for them was incredible, and the fact that they were able to overcome all of the odds, not only all the odds, the talent is against them, right? The talent on the field is working against them, and Mike Gundy, being the coach that he is, was able to get them to a Big 12 championship. But the lack of talent and just the lack of ability, and honestly, the lack of coaching, really just it was shown a light on today. Sark was in his bag. I mean, from start to finish, you were like waiting, like, okay, is he gonna start running the football now, trying to drain the clock? He just keeps going, taking shots. He just keeps throwing. He keeps throwing, and everybody just keeps being open. Like every single play that Sark designed that was put on the field, damn near every single play, every throw was open. On 41 pass attempts, I believe it was something like 41 pass attempts, Quinn Ewers threw 37 catchable balls. That is an insane stat. That's over 80%, 85%. That's almost 90%. Sark was in his bag. He was dialed in from the jump. It took him 8 plays to go up 14-0. Outside of the one interception, Quinn Ewers was on par with Sark all night. He knew exactly what needed to be done. He knew where the ball needed to be delivered, and he threw it every single time, accurately, in a catchable spot, damn near every time, and where only his receiver could make a play on the ball. Jatavion Sanders had himself Jatavion Sanders had 8 receptions for 105 yards. And mind you, this is one thing that I really loved seeing out of Quinn, who, by the way, before I even get started really diving deep into the individuals or into the game, let me just go over the individual stat with Quinn Ewers. 35 of 46, 452 yards, 4 touchdowns. At halftime, Quinn Ewers had 344 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. He was 40 yards away from breaking the Big 12 record for passing yards in a championship game at halftime. That stat is mind-blowing. At halftime, he had 344 yards passing. The Texas offense put up over 650 yards of total offense. 662, I believe, was the total. 198 on the ground, 452 yards passing from Quinn. He was on the money all night. He looked great in the pocket, and a lot of times, the one thing that I was even telling my dad this at the beginning of the game, the one thing that I wanted to see from Quinn out of this game, I wanted to see him get to his second and third reads. Once you take him off his first read, how is he going to do? Because we know Quinn can make his first read throws, and he does it almost better than almost anybody in the country. He's a special talent in that way. We knew that. What I wanted to see was him to be able to get over to his second and third reads, to his Jatavion Sanders, to his Jordan Whittingtons, hell, to his Adonai Mitchell's late, right? And he did that. I mean, he spread the ball around to everyone. Adonai had 6 receptions. JT had 8 receptions. Xavier Worthy has 6 receptions. And Xavier Worthy, again, putting on his display of just how explosive and fearless of an athlete he was. My goodness. Jordan Whittington, 4 receptions. Jaden Blue, 3 receptions. CJ Baxter, 4 receptions. Everybody got some. Everybody got to eat. You get some. You get some. You can have some too. I ain't leaving you out. Here's a little bit more. Like, he was just serving, dealing like it was nothing. He was slicing through that defense like they were Swiss cheese. They could not stop a nosebleed. Nothing they did. There was nothing they could do to counter Texas. They were completely outmatched, and Quinn was just slicing them up left and right. Like, the defensive head was on a damn swivel. They had no idea where the ball was going at all the entire game. It was as much a credit, again, to Sark's game plan as it was to the execution of the game plan. The execution of the game plan was flawless. Man, like I said, for the first time, like, it just felt so good in the biggest stage of the entire season, the Big 12 championship. The first time the committee is going to be actually being able to sit down together, the college football committee, I should say, the playoff committee, is going to be able to sit down in a room together and watch every championship game happen, watch every championship team play. And for the first time, they got to all sit down and watch Texas absolutely fucking obliterate Oklahoma State. Obliterate them. Was not even a competition. And I said as much going into this game. I said, Texas, I wouldn't be surprised if Sark comes out slinging and just continues until Texas puts up 50 to 60 points. So that way he makes a statement. He lets it be known that this team deserves to be in the playoff. And they did that. They came out and they executed. And I think, in my opinion, they left no doubt, they're going to be one of the 4 teams. At this point, you're really deciding on whether you're going to have Florida State, Alabama, well, not Georgia. Florida State or Bama is the other 2 teams. Who's gonna be left out? That's the argument, in my opinion. Texas did everything they needed to prove they are a top 4 team, and they will be in the playoff. Mark my words. We'll find out in just a couple of hours, as a matter of fact. We'll find out. The committee will be releasing the college football playoff rankings, the final rankings, at 11 a.m. So we're definitely going to be on the lookout for that. But getting back to the game. Now that we know that the offense had an incredible game. Again, the stats are bewildering, right? 600 yards of total offense is insane. Adonai Mitchell had himself a touchdown. Jatavion had a touchdown. Jaden Blue had a reception touchdown. Everything was clicking offensively. And defensively, even more so. Now, I understand that they gave up a couple of big plays here and there. Rashad Owens made a couple of good contested catches, as I figured he would. Like I said, he was their biggest deep play threat because he made the most contested catches. He's like a Deebo Samuel, just a strong body, small but strong and powerful. And he goes up and he catches and he contests those balls and he wins them a lot of times. And he did. He won a couple of them. But overall, Byron Murphy had the game of his life. I mean, he may not have gotten any sacks. I don't even know if he registered any sacks, as a matter of fact. He may not have registered any sacks, but he was in the backfield all game long. The amount of pressure he was putting on Alan Bowman was insane. He had Alan Bowman off his back foot nearly every throw. And not just himself, right? The whole D-line was getting after it. But Byron Murphy, time and time again, was popping off on the screen. He was in the backfield all day long. Alan Bowman was under duress. He had no time to throw the ball. The only time they actually made really any big plays was when Alan Bowman was scrambling outside the pocket, breaking coverage, breaking contain, and, at that point playing backyard football. Gets a little bit difficult for the DBs to cover for that long. Overall, I thought the secondary had a really, really good game. I know Jahdae Barron got picked on a little bit. He had a couple of passes caught on him deep. The Alan Bowman made a really, really sharp throw to Brennan Presley in the end zone. I think that was for their first score, maybe their second score. Maybe that's how they went up 14. And they had some effectiveness in the pass game, right? Alan Bowman threw for 3 touchdowns, threw a pick. But the most impressive thing that this defense did, if I told you at the end of the game that Ollie Gordon would have had less than 50 yards rushing, you would have said I was lying. And guess what? I predicted that too. Go look at the last video. I said I didn't even think I thought 50 was being bold. I thought for sure he would have less than 70 yards rushing. Ollie Gordon, the nation's leading running back, Doak Walker Award winner, best running back in college football, finalist, I should say, hasn't won it yet. Best running back in college football was held to 34 yards rushing, and he died 4 times on the field. He was literally crying himself off the field so many times. I don't even understand why they put him back in the game. I'd have just been like, bro, just go sit down. Go sit down. If you don't want to be here, go sit down. All that hooping and hollering and fuck Texas and screaming and jumping around for nothing. 13 rushes for 34 yards. We held Oklahoma State to 2.8 yards per rush in the whole game. How's that for a fucking stat? Man, how's that for Mike Gundy? How are you going to stop him? We're just going to block him like we've done the last 15 years. Guess what? I think you missed the assignment. Your team missed the assignment. They didn't block nobody. The game, I'm getting excited just because even thinking back to the game, it was so effortless the way we moved the football. It was so effortless at times the way the defense got on and off the field. Anthony Hill, monster, again, Big 12 Freshman of the Year, coming out, having himself a sack and a forced fumble. Monster. The more that kid gets on the field, the scarier and scarier he looks. He's just going to get better, bigger, and stronger, like I keep saying. He's already arguably the best linebacker, and that's including over Jalen Ford. Arguably. I would say that Jalen Ford's better in coverage, but Anthony Hill's really getting to that point where he's pushing the limits of already being better than Jalen Ford. Jalen Ford is an All-American linebacker. The corners had excellent games. Terrence Brooks and Manny freaking Muhammad. Manny Muhammad is the most impressive freshman corner that I've seen at Texas in a very, very long time. That kid plays physical and aggressive as hell at the line of scrimmage. And that's one of the reasons why I think PK has been able to be so aggressive with his secondary. When Manny Muhammad is on the field, he kind of takes away one side. He plays so damn good in man coverage. He's so sticky. Him and Terrence Brooks. Terrence Brooks had a pretty damn good game. I know he had a one arguable pass interference call, but for the most part, Terrence Brooks had an excellent game. The secondary in general had a great game. And believe it or not, perhaps the biggest play of the entire game came from somebody who I've been dogging all season long, who I've been saying needs to stop being put on the field, who I've been saying does not have the ability to play the position well, who I've been saying needs to be stuck to the special teams where he belongs, made the biggest and probably most impressive interception for Texas this entire season. Keaton Crawford, number 21. Holy shit. The way he laid out for that interception and brought it in, you saw his athletic ability put on display. It was extremely impressive. The whole team played their asses off. Even the second team got to get in that game, played their asses off. Trey Wisner being able to get him some carries. Savion Red getting him some carries. The young guys, the young second O-line got in, was able to get some playing time. Malik Murphy and Arch Manning were able to get playing time in the Big 12 championship game. And to be honest, we could have put them in to start the third quarter or to start the fourth quarter. Even earlier into the third quarter, if we wanted to, we were that far ahead and the game was dominated that much. It was a sight to behold. And speaking of, before I even moved off this, I cannot forget, since we're talking about players that had great games, we can go look at Quinn, we can look at Adonai and JT, but I think the coolest story and the most impressive player on the field, in my opinion, was Keelan Robinson. That kid had himself a damn game. 4 rushes for 75 yards. He had the one big 57-yard run where tightrope down the sideline, was able to toe tap on the sideline, had the balance to stay in and take the ball down the field. So really at that point, I felt like that was where you really put the dagger in the game. Completely put the dagger in the game. Not only that, but then his ability to make plays in the special teams. Not only returning kicks, but covering kicks and covering punts. He had a great game doing that as well. This kid, every time he gets the ball in his hands, it's like you have to hold your breath. Just like Xavier Worthy. Because you don't know if he's going to take that ball for a touchdown, if he's going to take the kick for a touchdown, if he's going to take the rock and just explode for a 60-yard game. He had an incredible game. And for someone who doesn't get to see the field maybe as often as he would like to, every time he does see the field, he absolutely makes the most of it. And he is one of the biggest parts, one of the pillars, in my opinion, to the type of culture that Texas is building. There's several of them. JB, Quinn, Keelan, Jalen Ford, these older guys, right? These seniors, these ones who have been through the ringer with Sark over the last 3 years. All those guys have obviously helped develop this culture. But Keelan Robinson continues to show complete selflessness. And I think that is really what separates this team from pretty much everyone else in the country. Complete selflessness all the time. They always play for each other. They're playing for something bigger than themselves. And it's for each other, it's for the university, it's for the program, it's for the fans, it's for everyone. And I think that shows every single time they're on the field. Look at my man, big man T Sweat, making them sweat on the goal line, baby. First and goal on the goal line, and he gets a touchdown reception and strikes the post, reiterating why he's the best lineman in the country. And the way the team celebrated with him on the sideline, like, you can tell that there's just pure joy and pure happiness for each other and for the program. This team don't care about shit that's going on outside of them. They literally, they looked like they were back in the locker room and they were on the sideline in front of thousands, tens of thousands of people turning up with T'Vondre Sweat. Turning up every time anybody on that team did anything remotely positive. They were turning up for everyone. They really grasped the importance, not only the importance, they grasped the opportunity. They understood what was in front of them, and they understood the game they were playing in. The scarcity of championships. They understand how difficult it is to win one. It's been over 15 years, almost 15 years, I should say, since the last one. And they brought it home, man. They brought it home. We could go on and on about this all day long. We could talk about how incredible of a season it's been, and it has been an incredible season. And trust me, we'll have a lot of time to do that. We got a whole month long. We're going to have a whole month break, regardless of whether Texas gets into the playoff or not, which they will. We have a whole month to go and look at these games, to go look at this team, break things down. And I'm sure I missed some things in this quick little overview. I know that things are coming back to me as I'm speaking, but like it was so great. Like it was such a great game to watch, and I feel great as a fan. I feel great for these guys, for this group of young men that came in and stuck it out for several years, and really they showed us what they're all about, man. They showed us what they're made of. And on that front, before I get out of here, speaking of being shown what you're made of, how about Steve Sarkisian putting Jonathan Brooks out for the last play of the game while Arch Manning takes the knee in victory formation as Texas goes on to win the Big 12 championship, recognizing how important of a person, of a player, of a presence that Jonathan Brooks is to that Texas football team. Sark is a class act, man. And the more he's spoken with media and the more you see of him and the more you watch his growth over the year, the more you can't help but love him. Like, he is what coaching football is all about. We really have a special coach in Sarkisian. He understands his players. He knows how to get them going, but he knows what everyone means to each other. he understands how close and how tight knit that this group is. And so what does he do? He puts arguably their most important player, their most loved player, out on the field to make sure that he recorded a snap as they go down in the history books as Big 12 champions. You can't ask for anything better than that. We got a couple hours until the college football playoff rankings are released. I have a feeling we're gonna have some really huge smiles on our faces. Otherwise, it's gonna be really hectic. It'll be interesting to see what the committee does. But until then, I'm gonna let you guys go. If you haven't already, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Smack a like on the video so we can get the word spread to the YouTubeverse, to the college football world. And of course, turn those notification bells on so you never miss an episode. Because remember, no matter where you look, there's no better place than MoBetta Sports for your latest football takes. I'm Mr.MoBetta, and I am out. Peace and hook 'em. Big 12 champs, bitches!